think I should stop this thing. Please, let's focus on this meeting. Okay. A human being to the core, someone I respect, my brother. I live in Irving, Texas. And if there is one of the few people who have made my stay in the US very, very easy, picked me up from the airport with Wiley when I got in, and they drove me around. They ensured that, I settled in quickly. This is one man who has been there for a whole lot of Nigerians. He's a veteran of the US military. I'm sure I will talk about that. He's an associate professor. He's a businessman. Someone talked about a particular business in the US sometimes. I mean, this is the man you need. I respect him. We talk almost all the time, and he will drive all the way to come and check on me to be sure that I'm fine. So when you hear him speak, please appreciate him for me. Today, we've been looking at the series on building your financial war chest. But today, we're going to dive a bit into people investment, as a way of building your financial war chest. I am going to be working in Maryland from Thursday for the next 2 weeks. I'm consulting for about 3 clients. And one of my mentees, called out to me and he said to me, Baba, when are you landing? I'm going to pick you up from the airport, and I would like to make myself available to drive you around all through your state. I shed a tear because the person that called me was one of my young men when I was working with young people in Adeleke. Some of them are actually on this diet. I can see Uchendu. I can see some of them here, right? I mean, this were young people. Some of them were probably in secondary school, just out of secondary school. Spent 8 years of my life every Sunday. I'll pay for the all, join them to arrange chairs, sweep with them, and still facilitate the meeting. Many of those young people are doing exceptionally well. I mean, he's in the US and Maryland, and it's always kept in touch, and that's, I looked at it and I realized that, see, you need to invest in people. Honestly, when I was doing that, I didn't expect to reap anything because my mother taught me that, do what you need to do for human beings when you need to do it. Even if they can't pay you back, still do it. Now, because you will always reap what you sow, not where you sow it. Every time you try to reap what you sow, where you sow it, you're going to manipulate people. You are going to use them. You're going to put pressure on them to fund your lifestyle. And that was why all the things I did in Nigeria, I kept my business going. I worked harder than many people just to ensure that I can take care of myself so that you don't become bitter. But I did it nevertheless. So when he said he's going to take a holiday to be with me and drive me around, I just shed a tear. Another person called me and said, Prince, where are you staying? I like to be cooking for you every time. Guys, you see, you cannot claim you love God and be bad with people. All these, I am an introvert, I am keeping to myself, I like me. You cannot sustain you. You cannot patronize you. And many of us, we hate shame. We hate to be, people say no. I mean, I had the conversation, one of my mentees and I was I was scolding her all through this week to say, you know what? If you are keeping to yourself, nothing else will ever happen to you in this life, including even who to marry, because you cannot marry yourself. You cannot do business with yourself. So you must get used to rejection and go out there and invest in people. Whatever you have learned is not for you. The concept of I keep my trade secret to myself, it's a demonic concept. You need to find people to invest in. My mentor taught me that, praise, every knowledge you know, put it on a slide presentation. As long as it's on a slide presentation, you will be duplicable by people across the world. When I left Nigeria, people asked me, oh, who's going to be doing your job? My company runs perfectly well. I've not had to interfere. And I told them I have 800 people minimum that we have trained who can do what I'm doing. So when I see Zuriel do amazing things, Ayor, Peace, all these people, it was because I dared to train people. Now I'm so excited coming to Nigeria in August. I'm almost fully booked because this person wants to host me. So guys, you will always need people. If there's anything working for many of the politicians, maybe like Jagaban and even Peter Obi, investment in people. So today, We are having Major retired Adeleke is going to be speaking to us for like 45 minutes, 1 hour-ish thereabout, and we will take questions. So Major, over to you. Where is he? I know he's here. I saw him. Major Adeleke, where are you? Admin, can you help me?
Recording in progress.
Okay, where's Major? I can see his wife. Okay, good. Major is here. Major, you're welcome. I hand over to you, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome, awesome. Good day, everyone. I believe we have people all over the world, so I don't want to streamline my my greetings to one particular set of people. So I think good day or good evening, wherever you are, I think that will work. My name is Adeleke. I'm the former artist. I'm an artist formerly known as Major Adeleke. I really don't like to address myself in Major because it's my past life. But like someone I told me the other day, you heard it. I understand that, but it's always the function of what have you done for me lately? So I've been retired for 4 years now, and it's been a blessing. So today, I praise thanks for that gracious introduction. I'm even scared of where do I start. So investment in people, it is probably the greatest investment we ever do. It's not about money. It's not about things. I know our situations, the world that we live in is kind of shape us in a way that we only think about money. And oftentimes it's always at the end of the road. You know, I was listening to a friend of mine who visited his great grandmother in a remote village in Accra and Ghana. And he was telling me that grandma is about 96 years old or so like that. And you know, visited grandma. Grandma was doing well. You know, I was happy to see him. You know, and it was about living. You know, was about to give the grandma some money. Grandma's like, nah, I don't need your money. You know, I really don't need your money. I just want you guys to be around more. You know, in this phase of life, I need people around more than anything else. It just, you know, then it took me a while to kind of let that message sink in. In this phase of our life, when we were younger, I mean, when we were younger, we were born to a certain age before I reached the age of accountability. We were so focused, we lean on people for everything. Either our mother or our father to get things done. We rely on them. And then at some point in life, we believe we can take the bull by the horn and then we'll take off with life. And then at some point in our life, if God give us enough grace to see that old age, and then we have to rely on people. And even throughout the time that we believe that we have the you know, the authority and everything in this world, you know, we know everything else we're doing, we still have to rely on people. And towards the twilight of our lives, we rely on people. Oftentimes when like I was saying, if you give the grandma money, what's she gonna do with it? How much does she have to spend before she kick up the bucket? You know, so people are so essential. And unfortunately, managing people is probably the most hardest thing in this world to do. People have different personalities, people grew up differently, people have different exposures. The mind and the consciousness of people, oftentimes, like the book of Jeremiah said, the heart of man is deceitful and desperately wicked. You know, and oftentimes it's very, very hard to decipher what goes on in people's mind. You think you are doing great, you are helping, you think you are doing certain things to certain people, but they have different motives around what you're doing. So it brought me to the topic today of investing in people, and I've just watched the Secret Service video, the Secret Service video, and almost all the boot camps. These are the military, the Navy, the special operations, the Rangers. Any endeavor that requires boot camp. I'm not talking about the boot camp that you do on Zoom for some of these things, you know, Scrum Master or whatnot that people do on boot camp. I'm talking about the real boot camp whereby you have to commit yourself to a cause that is greater than yourself for 6 months, a year, and some change. I've been to some boot camp in my life, been in the military and been part of some special boot camp. There are some I got caught out of it. Some, just to measure up, and some I scaled through. Some, it just one of those things is a programming function. It's a programming function, and for the military and for us. And I think oftentimes we don't go to that programming function of investing in people. We go to the programming function of investing in something else that is rather than people. And it takes, and it has a pros and cons to it as well, which we're going to go into it at some point. But it is the greatest, it is the only investment that matters. It is the only investment that matters. As you can see, prime example, your parent invested in you and you are who you are. At some point in Nigerian setting, or let me scale back. In African setting, it is what we call social security or retirement plan. Because in their old age, they're gonna depend on you and they expect you to execute. There's no if or but to it. You have to take care of your parents. They don't have to it's not even negotiable for the most part. I know a lot of people are trying to do away with what's called the black tax right now about why do I have to take care of my parents? The white people put them in, the elders, old people's home, that kind of stuff. But in an African setting, it's not something that is welcome. And I think a lot of people are coming with an idea of, taking the old people to a care home of these days. But it is often time in our culture that these, and we've never really have a deliberate and concerted effort to address the issue of people. We've always been programmed to go after the money, which is fine. But you can actually go after the money by investing in people. You can actually, is a duality kind of lane. You can actually do both together. And like I said, I've partaked in several boot camps. And so the Secret Service boot camp that was shown wasn't something that is, I'm quite aware of it, and one thing about Secret Service and I think they show in the documentary is when they started the Secret Service, they look at the dollar, The one thing about Secret Service, I was talking to one of them the other day, is the fact that if you look at how do they detect counterfeit money, is because they look at the real money so well. They look at it so well for 6 months or more than that when they see a counterfeit, you're going to jump right at them. That's very interesting. That's, just a segue to our discussion today. So yeah, I spent, from 1998 to 2008, I spent 20 years in the military. And one thing that has taught me, as we fight the nation's war, if guys understand, the US military always poking their nose to different parts of the world, is the fact that people matters. Everywhere we go, no war is fought without, we understand the use of technology, but no war is fought without boots on ground. And when you need boots on ground, you need people. Praise and I were discussing on a separate and personal issue yesterday. We'll talk about when chips are down, regardless whatever you're going through, you need people around you to be able to get you to where you need to be. People are the most essential thing. As you're seeing it playing out in Nigerian politics, depending on what your political leanings, APC, PDP, or Labour Party, it doesn't really matter. As you can see it play out, for those that are Jagaban fan or not, the man, regardless of his, if you're a fan of his politics or not, or his strategy or not, he has recorded amount of developing people over the course of time. And from the news I'm getting, even the money being spent right now is not even from him. It's from people that he has invested in. And that's very, very scary. Because if people that he has invested in are now going for, and now pouring so much out for him, it shows a lot about, people having the appreciative, way of influencing, events in life. One of the leading social science researcher, who was a professor of mine when I was in college, and we're talking about the power of influence, and said the power of influence, one of the greatest power of influence is by developing people. And I asked him why. He said, because it's one thing that keeps giving. It's the only investment that will always continue to give. Once you invest in people, the returns, there is no ROI to it. The returns is endless. In the money you invest in real estate, you invest in another thing, you can actually calculate the ROI over the course of the lifetime of the thing. But humans, when you invest in humans, and it's very genuine, the return, the ROI is endless. And oftentimes, again, our programming does not allow us to see it. Our programming allows us to see in a very terminal level. We are going to invest, and oftentimes we invest in a way that we expect returns. The way this thing comes, the way this life is so kind of connected, oftentimes you don't see returns. Oftentimes, some people don't see returns in 40 years or more, or some people see immediate. It really doesn't matter when the return comes, but it matters of how we invest in people or not. So the question to you is, how do we, the next question is, how do we invest in people? And why is it so important that we continue to kind of journey through this path of investing in people? So I'll share a personal experience with you. So I joined the US military in 1998, and I left in 2018, making 20 years that I served. When I joined, you know, I thought I was able to do it. The lesson I learned from home is hard work trumps everything else, right? So hard work only gets you to a certain level. So I got transferred to an island called Okinawa in the country of Okinawa Island, the country of Japan. I was there, and I met a boss. He's a white man, never met me before, and he told me, he said, "Adebayo, what do you want to be in life?" I said, "I want to become an officer, and I want to lead men in combat." He said, "Okay." And for us to be able to you know, become an officer, you have to finish your degree. And by then, I've yet to finish my degree. I was almost done. I wasn't through. But at the height of it, we're in the middle of global war on terror. If you guys probably don't know what's going on back then in 2005 or so, we're in the middle of global war on terror, fighting Iraq, fighting Afghanistan, and we're also in Philippines, which is very close to the island of Okinawa. Then we're looking for Osama bin Laden lieutenant called Abdi Shayab in one of those islands over there. So we have a staging area for deployed brigade and battalion in Okinawa Island. So when I got over there, they told me, "Baya, you're going to the Philippines." I said, "Sure, pack my bags." But my boss said, "You know what? If I send you to Philippines, it's going to take you about 8 months or 9 months or so like that before you come back. And I don't want to deter you from achieving your, you have to finish your degree because you want to become an officer. So this is what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to take your place to go to Philippines. And that will give you a year, whatever you need to do to finish your degree." Actually, I was slated. The next I was about, they gave me already my manifest. "Bio, you're on this plane to go to Philippines." I said, "I already packed my bags." And then he intercepted. He's like, "Nah, I don't think you should go. I've been in Philippines severally. This fight is a long fight. You're going to be there next year, 2 years from now. So you know what? I'll take your place right now. Just make sure you have a few more classes left. Finish those classes. And then I'm going to deploy you. Just remember that I'm going to send you to Philippines. And then when you come back, you go to officer candidate school." I was like, wow, that's quite weird. And at the same time, too, before you become an officer, there are two things that is going on over here. Before you become an officer, you have to have the US top secret clearance. And you cannot have a US top secret clearance if you're not a citizen. And yet by then I wasn't a US citizen. So there's a lot of things that were going on. No, by then I was a citizen. I was a citizen there. So there's a lot going on. So I have certain requirements to be before I become an officer. So he said, "You know what, finish your degree first. When you come back, there are certain things I need to do." So, and the man went to Philippines on my behalf, and I was there, buckled down, finished my college degree. And when I was done, he came to me, he was like, "Okay," he came back from deployment, we're done. He said, "Now, the next deployment, the next shoot, you're going." I said, "Yeah." And then we got over there, and then the list came out that I need to apply for officer candidate school. So I said, "Sure." And then I realized that, I don't have a top secret clearance yet. So I cannot become an officer. I've filled all the requirements. And why is the reason? I pull out they said I still have my Nigerian passport. I need to turn it in. I said, wow. So, okay. I called the Nigerian embassy in Japan. I talked to them for about 2 months. They couldn't answer my phone call. Finally, one answered my phone call one day. I used to call them about 10 times a day. The guy said, I said, "Please, can I just fly to Tokyo and give you my passport? Because you cannot hold a dual citizenship if you're fighting for the US military. It's just not. If you're holding a top secret clearance, no country should if you're holding top secret clearance. It's like, I said, sure. I said, I just want to turn in my clearance so they know that, I don't hold two passports. I said, oh, you can't do that. You cannot do that. We have a top military, top dignitaries coming to Japan for the next 2 weeks, so we don't have time to attend to anyone. I said, how? And I need this I need to get this thing done. So I told my boss like, wow, this is very strange and very interesting, because we can't send you to Tokyo without them. But this is what I would do. Can you call the Nigerian embassy in the US to see if they can do it? And I got on call. I went to the consulate. I called the consulate in Atlanta. This is sure. You can come in and tell me. And by the way, mind you, the flight from Japan to the US at a particular time is about 18 hours flight or so like that. So I was like, how am I going to do it? My boss, what he did, he sat back on his chair. He said, Bio, there is this particular training I've been wanting to send you for a week long. It's near Atlanta, Georgia. I need to send you now. I thought he was kidding. I don't know how he came up with the training. I don't know where he found out. He said, Bio, you're going to be on the flight the next 2 hours. So he actually signed me on a training. Actually, it was when I got over there, then realized that the training, when they were buying the flight, they said the training was canceled. Then there's this particular office that I interfaced with when I was working in Japan. We've been trying to get, to go over there and visit them and so like that, but we've never really worked out. So he said, you know what, since we've been planning to visit this office for the last 2 or 3 years and we never worked out, let's just make this a deal then. Let's go visit them. So guess what? He made sure that myself got on a plane and got on a government-funded aircraft to visit this particular place. It takes about 20 days of visit for the tour and everything. But in the process, he made sure that my flight got routed to Atlanta Airport. And I'm going to stay there for at least 8 hours. So that 8 hours is enough for me to be able to get out of the airport and make sure that I submitted my passport. And they gave me a receipt that I submitted my passport and get on the board. And he kind of, he made it happen. And lo and behold, I got on the plane, I got out, when I got over there, I already called them, I turned in my passport, they gave me a receipt, I've been turning my passport. I went to do my 3 days stuff, I turned around and I came back to Okinawa, Japan. Immediately, I turned in my stuff. Within 2 weeks, my case was adjudicated. I was given the US top secret clearance and I went to become an officer in the military. And prior to that, and I'll tell you certain things that this man did for me. He invested in me in such a way and in such a manner that he taught me how to be a leader. When my wife was pregnant with our twins that time, and we have no family and friends around that time as well. So he stood by me. I've never seen a boss in a labor room with somebody that he worked for. He knew we have no family members. No, he and his wife were there. My wife was in labor for about 20-something hours. He was there with us from the beginning to the end. And he brought the rest of all the guys who worked together. Imagine all of us in the waiting room, just waiting there for these babies to be born. It was such a collective effort. He invested in me in a manner, in such a way. It really gets emotional when I tell these stories because it really changed the course of how I see leadership and how I see how you invest in people. So then, additionally, before we left Okinawa to go to officer candidate school, my wife had a procedure she has to do in Hawaii, which is another about 8 hours flight from Okinawa. So my mother-in-law was with us to help us take care of the baby. She finally came. And because we couldn't leave and she just got to the country, they speak Japanese for most of the time. My wife's boss is also Japanese. So what they did was, I was like, we have to go to Hawaii for about a week or two. Just like, don't worry. Do you know that when I left, they took care of my grandma? They make sure that, every day they brought out food for a week and some change over there. I was like, wow, is this how you kind of, you treat people, how to lead people in combat? Because right now they want to make sure that I focus on whatever I'm doing and I don't have to worry about the home front. We left, I became an officer and all. What this man did in my life and how he invested in me in such a way and such a man, he has absolutely nothing to gain from it. He was just making sure that I become a better leader. And from there, there's something that tuned in me about how you treat people. And as he has never failed me, regardless of course, you get people that, for the lack of better word, shit on you one day or the other, but you always, just like the needle is to the thread, once the needles to the thread, you continue to march on that. And as every part of my journey as an officer, you always find somebody out there that always provide that kind of guidance and invest in me in such a way and in such a manner that, helps me kind of have clarity of mind as we continue. And as I continue my way as a leading soldiers in combat, I realized the number one virtue you can have is to have a care of those people around you, because they will go the extra length. There was a time I was in what we call Chalk district in Afghanistan. And I mean, we know we're in the Mecca of Taliban. We know that, the war of our forces against them, especially in that type of country, was very, very, the ratio wasn't good. But, people will go to the extreme end of the world for you if they believe in you and you treat them right. It's one of those things. You don't have to worry about, if you're going to shine or not. If you don't have to worry about, if they're going to do the reports or not. But if you treat them right, you invest in them in such a way, and you make sure that what matters to them also matters to what you're doing. And those things have been like, it's like, I don't know, as they call it in Yoruba, ajebido. It's just, it becomes natural for me, because when you start practicing it, and it becomes natural for me. It also has a downside to it as well, because you treat people, you always see the best in people, and to a fault, because there are some people out there that are just not right, and it continues to have those kind of things. But as long as your motive is right and you continue to have eyes on the ball, there is nothing that's gonna deter. I met another boss as well, Colonel Diggs. He's a football corner right now. When I first got married, he always put me to the side. He said, "Bio, how's your marriage life doing?" I've never seen an officer that put me behind before. I said, "How's your marriage life?" I said, "I think I'm fine." He said, "I know you're an African, you're married, and you're married in American society. How is that coming along?" I said, "You know what? Strangely enough, I mean, it's not bad." And I was deployed. So that was the first time of me in Afghanistan, being away from my family and all. I just didn't know, a lot of stuff going on. And he's like, "Bio, every day you will come to me every week. You say, get on the computer." I said, "What are we doing?" They said, we're going to buy your wife a flower." I said, "Why?" It's like, "Because it's what I'm telling you to do." "So why do I have to buy myself flowers?" It's $100. It's $100 a flower. Why do I need to buy every time? I said, "Just do it for my wife every week, $100 a flower, just to make sure he's just telling that you care. You're in Afghanistan, you care." I was like, well, what is this supposed to say? "Don't worry, you won't know now, but you care. So why do I have to do this? Just do it." So every week we buy flowers. And I never knew what he was trying to do there, because you understand the home front for a soldier that is fully deployed is as critical as the war front as well. If your home front is shitty, or is what do I call it, is lacking, there's no way your head is going to be strong or straight right when you're deployed. So he did that for me. And after like the third month, I started getting the reason why. Because some of the argument and restraint my wife and I used to have about conversation, it is very, very, it became easier when I had to continue to have this weekly, monthly flower thing. And it's like, look, it might not be much to you, but it's something that will help you resolve a lot of issues down the road. The man invested some knowledge and critical knowledge in me. Certain things, oftentimes I want to talk, he would just pull me back and say, restrain. Restraint is as powerful as, and he walked me through that essential part of my life, because that was in common. That was my first time seeing action in Afghanistan. And it takes a very composed individual to be able to help somebody to channel those emotions. You want to kill, you want to do this, and like, no. Restraint is as powerful as you firing a weapon. Restraint is as powerful as doing this and do that. You have to do it in such a way that when you do certain things, you don't come back and start questioning and start having an investigation. He walked me through this path. Then, after a while, we went back home after redeployment. And we are still close friends. Actually, I'm bringing him on my podcast coming weeks. But the fact of the matter, he laid out the foundation for me. He seeded in me in such a way and invested a huge amount of, because since then I deployed severally. And those knowledge that he gave me, it is such a powerful method. It's such a powerful knowledge for me that actually spanned the rest of my career, as of my life. I mean, we have several ways of how do we invest in people. Is it through mentoring? Mentoring has been beaten to death from several fronts and whatnot, but it is important that we continue to mentor, because that's the only way we can continue to develop people and continue to invest in people. Whatever way you can invest in people, it can be terminal, it doesn't have to be a continuous process, but make whatever time you invest in them, make that time count. It is the most investment that people have ever done in me till today. Even now, this man, Colonel Diggs, every time he meets an African soldier, he will always call me. He said, Bayo, I have somebody else for me. So I have about, God knows, almost he has met about 25 different African soldiers on his journey. And out of them in my mentoring group now, he said, continue to pay it forward. And I understand exactly what he's talking about, because a lot of all these African soldiers are going to have challenges like I did. He never knew my background. He pulled me aside. He just gave me a little bit for marriage advice to restrain on how to lead soldiers in a very highly tensed environment. And these particular guys that I'm mentoring might not have the same condition, but I owe it to them as well to be able to help them kind of navigate their way through the military life. So this particular experience of mine has shaped the way I look at things in life. I've always believed that people are you can't really do much. Actually, you can't do much for the most part. As I run my organizations now, there's little I do. I give directions. I give directions, and I also help develop them and also invest in them to make sure that they are actually they have enough capacity and also the capability to be able to achieve what I'm asking of them. And that oftentimes, and this question always raised, why do you have to train them? What if they pick up the bags and leave tomorrow? Yes, that's it often happens. Actually, often it happens more than you always anticipate. But what will also happen if you don't train them as well? So you're always going to be subjected to these subpar performers as well. So I will always look at it from that positive side. Regardless of our background shows us that it's often difficult, especially in the terrain and the landscape and geopolitical landscape that we find ourselves. It's very, very extremely hard to invest in people because we always look at it that they don't return investment and so like that. It's not about their return of investment. It's never about it. It's about making them be the best version of themselves. If they come back, great. If it doesn't, even in the Bible, the parables of the lepers, it happens. So it's not a deal breaker for me. But it's just the one that will come back to you. That particular one will be a difference maker. So it's always my mantra. It's what I do. It's become part of me. People that work for me, I train them to the best of my ability. I champion their courses. I invest in whatever they're doing. I invest in it. Oftentimes I don't see the heart of it, but they say it. As long as they say it and they believe in it, I support them in shape or form. It doesn't take much out of us to invest in people. Is it through time? And I know time is probably the most valuable thing. People think it's all about money. It's not really about money. It's about time. It's the same way we kind of help champion our kids to make sure they're the best they're the best in their life. The same way we expect, we're the people. And it really doesn't matter where they come, race, creed, whatever they come from. They are human beings. As long as we see them as human beings first and also treat them as humans, it's quite an investment. So when I can go on and on and on and talk about this endeavor all through the day, but I'm just sharing my own experience of how people have invested in me over the course of time and how they'll continue.
Okay, guest Major is having a network glitch. I'm sure he's going to be back. But if you have questions, please, because I'd like us to engage. I have some questions for him as it concerns supply chain, which is one of the areas of his competence and strength. So I hope he gets back on time. But the stories are very interesting for me. And I think it's very, very correct. We all need, there are people who have invested in us. Every time I see people who, are old enough, 40, 50, and they are still looking for helpers of destiny. I'm praying for God, send me helpers of destiny. It's a prayer point I never pray. I would rather ask God to make me helpers of destiny. Okay, Major is back. Okay, Major, over to you. Yeah, you need to unmute yourself.
I'm handing over to you that I've completed my time.
Okay, good. Major, so we have a couple of questions to ask you. And the first question I'm going to ask is, a lot of people are afraid to invest in people because they've been burnt in times past. So you've been hurt by the same people. I mean, I've had several hurts like that, several backstabbing, but my mom always taught me, I think my mom prepared me for many of the things I do. So my people will fight me sometimes. Let's say someone has backstabbed me and the person is in pain. And I'm saying to my people, please help me send money to this person from my account. They can't understand it, and I'm saying that we have lost the right to withhold the bowel of mercy from the people that deserve it, as at when they deserve it, regardless of what they've done. Now, there are people here who have been hurt. How do you keep investing in people who never appreciate your investment? Okay, someone is also asking, how do we balance the pressure of being always available for people and almost lose sight of your personal vision and goals based on your daily and weekly goals? Sometimes you are even behind on these goals. This pressure can be excruciating sometimes. Major.
So to the first one, getting burnt and getting hurt is part of the process. A lot of people are exposed differently. People came from different backgrounds. Some people are very exploitative in nature. Some people are very one-directional in their ways. But, getting to know the root of how people who they are before you really help them and invest in them can be an exhausting process. It really can be really exhausting. So you do your part. You do it in parts and pieces. I do it in bits as well. What I've seen work for me is you kind of give a bit here and there for them and see what they're going to bite, and what they're going to do with it, and then you continue to do it. And oftentimes, if it becomes really, because not everyone can be able to stomach a lot of this. So there is one adage that we use in the military. Say, feed the monkey with a 10-foot spoon. That means you're still feeding the monkey, but with a 10-foot spoon in such a way and in such a manner that it's too far away from you so that you don't get hurt. I mean, people are going to get hurt. And if I say that you won't get burnt or get hurt, and I'll be disingenuous to you. But I think it's a process of understanding where you have to understand yourself as well. What is your limits? And don't trying to expand your limits, because that can become something of health issues, because you're going to be heartbroken and all that kind of stuff. So you have to be able to know that. But being burnt is part of the process. If you continue to say, like, I'm only going to invest in people if they don't, how do I call it? If they don't hurt me, then you're not going to be able to do it, because people will hurt you. It's just a human nature, they will hurt you. And oftentimes, hindsight later, you begin to find out why they did it. And then you kind of understanding it from a selfish point of view. We're all human beings inherently. We are selfish. So all these things is bound to them. But continue to do it in pieces. And as time goes on, the real revealer will come. You do the best you can for that person and you keep moving on. So, I mean, people that have invested in me, it wasn't that they did it through a half is a constant deal. No, they did it and they left. And what I made out of it is what really matters. The next question is, how do you balance it? Ma'am, you have to be there. It has to be priority. There's a time and space for everything. There's a time and space to help people, and there's a time and space to get, because you are able to help because you are where you are. So you cannot hurt yourself in the process of helping others at the same time. Helping others cannot be at the detriment of your own self. So if you're not well, like somebody said, if you're not well, you cannot give blood, right? So if you're not where you are, then the help you're rendering to that person will not make any sense. So it is important that we continue to understand that we have to balance both in such a way that you have to maintain your health first before you can help others. Just like in a plane, you get in there, they say you have to put on your mask first before you put down your mask for the next person sitting to you. The same thing with helping others as well. You have to, make yourself well. You are not, a God that can do things without, you have to get yourself grounded first before you ground others.
Okay, thank you very much, Major. Now, the other thing would be for me, I want to delve into supply chain because someone had raised that question here and you were not in that day. To say, I mean, I've heard you say someone can be in Nigeria, for example, and you can execute contracts for the US government. Now, that's something that you are almost like a master, like a major plug on. And since we're talking about people,
Yes.
what exactly is this supply chain? How does it work? And how can people across different countries, I mean, people are present here, they are not even aware of this information. We always think that
Okay.
you have to be a US citizen or you have to be in the US to execute contracts for, for the US government. How does it work?
So U.S. government spend money globally. The U.S. government is like the ever-rich uncle that spends money everywhere in the world. They spent millions of dollars in Nigeria last year. They'll continue to do it this year and years to come. U.S. government use the money. The U.S. is a capitalist world, but it's probably the most social welfare kind of deal as well. So I've been doing government contracts as a contracting officer before I left the military, so I know the ways of government contract, and I do give class on that. How many minutes do I have? Because if I start on government contract, I will not leave here today. But
Well,
it is possible.
we have some time. Just go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, it is possible if you understand what you're doing and the government, U.S. government, they buy a lot. So the question is, are you selling what the U.S. government is buying? That's the bottom line. They buy a lot from goat milk to hays that feed the horses, to buildings, to airplanes and all. So there's no limitation on what U.S. government buys. But at the same time, are you providing what the U.S. government is buying? So you can open business in the U.S., you can open business in Nigeria, you can tap into the U.S. government spending in Nigeria, not only Nigeria, but across Africa. All this is present, but you have to understand what they are buying first. You have to understand the contracting processes that is required of U.S. government. Because, I mean, if you're doing business in Nigeria or doing business in the U.S., it's all the same concept. The U.S. government wants something, they have due diligence. They have to do due diligence. So if you're going to be a Nigerian company contracting for the U.S. government, you have to make sure that your P's and Q's are good to go. You dot all your I's and cross all your T's, all of that stuff. And then you keep making all those things work. So it's doable. You can be in Nigeria, you can be in your comfort of your home in Nigeria and still be doing government contract. I've seen it done. I've helped people do it. But there's a lot to it that I've done. It's about 8-hour class that will give about understanding US government contract. And then after that, you go like, is this something I want to do? Is this something I want to get myself into? And after that, you go into it. So it's doable. The US government spend money across the continent every year, and they'll continue to spend money along the way. Do you know what they're spending money on? There's places where they look and search for those. Yeah, I mean, US embassies, apart from people going for visa, they also dish out contract as well. Most people don't know that. And some people in Nigeria actually do, and they keep it under wraps. So, and the US government, this is all about competition for them. The more people know, the more it works for them because it helps drive the prices down. So, for example, if there's only one person that is registered under the US government contract in the US embassy, and US wants to rent vehicles for some operation they're doing in Nigeria, and if they call that vehicle $500 a day for them, if there's nobody competing against that offer, they'll pay the guy $500 a day. But imagine you have about 200 people contesting for it, and the thing dropped down from $500 to about $60 a day, right? The US government wins, right? Because with more people are aware of it, it's a competition, it drives the prices down. Whoever the lowest price, technically acceptable, will be the one that is chosen. So the more people know about these opportunities, the more it's good for the US government because it helps drive the price down. I hope somebody gets me. So that's the basic premise behind government contract. So yes, you can be in Nigeria. Yes, you can be in any part of the world, South Africa or not, and compete for US government contract. And it's doable. It's doable. Attend the class, look at what you're selling and see what US government is buying and try to match it and do it to the best of their ability.
Major, you're talking about attend a class. I mean, is there a website? So is there a course people can go through to
Yes.
understand? Because I've had when we had We had a breakout session like about 4 weeks ago, and it came up. Some people were asking about, government.
Yes. So I will share with you. We're revamping our website at the moment and revising our curriculum. I'll share the website with you, and the people can go on there. It's a self-paced program. Once they're done, they can check it out. And we want to do a live class as well on Zoom. We'll get that going as well too. I'll share sometimes in the next couple of weeks that I'll be out, and you can share with people on House of Savior as well, and they can check it out. But it's coming, and that will give you an in-depth work into what U.S. government is doing and how to go by it. It might be something for you, might not be something for you, but it's worth checking out. And you'll be surprised what people have been able to purchase over the course of time.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Major, since you are also here, guys, if you have questions, ask. But I'm going to take you up on this. There is a lot of insecurity in Nigeria right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And no matter how far away we are from home, we cannot forget home.
Yes.
Election is coming. There has been killing. Prisoners have been released, and what have you. How do people protect themselves? I mean, from someone who understands security challenge, because I mean, it gets scary when we see some of this news. What would be your recommendation, to people? Because we've seen situations where some of the people who are released, for example, they're probably going to end up in Lagos. Somebody is going to hire them as.
They're already in Lagos.
Aha. I mean, someone is going to hire them as gate men. And I mean, what exactly is the magnitude of what we're dealing with? And
it's really bad.
As a tribe, what do you suggest? Do we need to run away? Do we need to, how do we, from your experience and what you've shared, how do we, protect ourselves and our loved ones?
Yes, I've been, sorry about this, I'm moving around, I'm trying to charge my phone. I've been talking about this for quite some time now, about the insecurity in Nigeria. It's such a, it's very bad. It's very bad because I don't even know. This thing has been so convoluted and compiled over the course of time. It is, I'm trying not to scare people, and I'm also trying to give people for what it is, It's very bad because this thing has been going for long. The enemies of the state, I call them the enemy of the state, they're very patient. They didn't understand the vulnerabilities in Nigeria. I've always maintained Nigeria has never been safe. It's just the fact that we haven't been pushed to the point of people exploiting Nigerian vulnerabilities. Nigeria has always had vulnerabilities across since we were born. Nigeria has always had vulnerabilities, but nobody dared then exploit those vulnerabilities. But because of the economic condition in Nigeria, a lot of people are now exploiting those vulnerabilities, and that is the most dangerous thing to actually happen. So if you have the opportunity, I will ask you and your family to have a alternate destination that you can pick up your bags at any point in time and just head out there just for until cooler heads prevail. That's if you have the opportunity. And if you don't have the opportunity, I will also ask you to pursue such opportunity. The issue of security is going to take a while to resolve. It's not something somebody can just snap a finger and get it resolved over time. What you are dealing with in Nigeria is of the highest of magnitude, because right now Nigeria you are not safe. You are not safe. It is very, very, I mean, the Kuje prison is is the tipping point for a lot of things. If the government, if the president convoy, as they say, quote unquote, has been compromised, then we have a serious malfunctioning country. But what can people do with people that are not armed with information? They don't have escort police. They don't have things. The only thing you have is your knowledge. Is you have your native intelligence to be able to use. You have to be able to understand the environment. But the way we live our life these days is that we just go by our lives, our date. We don't watch left and right of us. We don't see what is there and what is not. Nigerians operators, these terrorist operators, they are not, they don't have what we call radio silence. They don't have radio discipline. That means they really do not have tactical discipline. So there are a lot of times they leave traces behind that people can actually grab on if you know exactly what you're looking for. So when things are not what they used to, when things are looking, and to be honest with you, all these things, and I've studied this actually throughout the night, that's what I've been doing, because I'm working on a security application for Nigeria right now that can empower people to be able to make decisions about what is going on. But what I'm saying now is, but a lot of us just go by our days anyhow. because there's so much to be doing the day you don't want to be distracted. But all these clues are being left along the way. You'll be surprised if you look around your neighborhood, there are certain things that are not supposed to be there that are there, and then you're like, when did this thing get there? When did this thing get there? And then those days that people know exactly who's living next and right of them are long gone. But all these things to be you have to be vigilant. And those information will tell you this thing is not right and this thing doesn't make sense. Apparently, all this has been going on now. The Kuje prison, people have been hearing about it. It's going to be broken weeks before then. So who acted on it? Then what kind of information have you? And people are not permutating if this particular scenario played out. What's going to happen? So understanding the clues that these people leave behind. If you see somebody carrying weapons and it's not a policeman or not, maybe that should give you a clue like, these things are not right. When you see certain things, certain people that are not there before, they start appearing in the neighborhood. Look, Boko Haram and Bandit, they have one of the most seasoned scouts. How can you attack Kaduna Abuja Expressway and spend 3 hours interdicting that train? The same thing in Kuje, spend 3 hours kind of moving stuff out. They know exactly what they do. They know that help is not coming anytime soon. They know exactly what they're doing. So for them to be able to carry such a magnitude operation, they have scouts, right? Scouts don't appear anyhow. They blend in with the people and they study the pattern of life. Does that make sense? So when they come over there and spend 3 hours on operation, they know exactly what they're doing. They know when to hit, how to hit, and whenever, even if you crowd loud, nobody's going to come to you in the next 3 or 4 hours. That is how good they are. They are not tactically sound as much, like I said. They always leave traces behind. But what they're good at is they have great seasoned scout. And one thing about scout is they'll blend in. They'll come and survey the area, come over there to look at where they're going to hit. So when you start seeing things that doesn't look like what they used to be, somebody start you pissing on.
Oh, so sorry. Major is another part of Dallas that I suspect they're having a bit of network issue. So I'm sure it's going to be back. He switched on his phone right now. But what I'm getting from what he's saying, I had to maximize him, and take the discussion away just from the people investment into his area of core expertise, which is security. Because with the news we hear, it's a bit scary, and I think that, information gathering is a bigger security strategy that you can use. So if we understand how to observe things around us and what is happening, I think that many of us will be safe. And like I rightly mentioned, if you can pursue a second citizenship, please do. If you can aspire to do that. Of course, we can't all run away, but those who can, at least should have it in plan. In case anything happens, at least you can go to Togo, have a West African passport. You can go to Benin Republic, if you can't go by here, the ferry in Lagos now works. You must understand the direction to run to and move to, in case you need to, make some form of escape. And please, if you live in an estate, check the securities that you are hiring lately, because, once those guys can Lagos, they're going to, or whatever part of Nigeria, they're going to look for security jobs, look for some kind of jobs. Please, let's be intentional. And I pray that God will protect all of us. Okay. Major is back. Sorry, you need to unmute yourself, Major. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my network today, but I think I'm back for good now. Okay. So yes.
We can't hear you, Major.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
If you see anything that is out of place, you just have to call it out. And unfortunately, people you're calling out to, they might not be learned, let me put it that way, learned in the process of putting all these pieces intel together and make a decision on it. So if you call a Nigerian police, you probably, on your own. So what to make of those things is, okay, I'm looking at this, it doesn't look well. This guy that I'm seeing around my neighborhood, it doesn't look like he's from around here. You challenge the person and they start asking questions. If the person can't give you a straight answer, then it's time for you to actually take for a safe haven. Because right now, there is nobody in Nigerian security agency that I know of that is skilled to be, because Nigerian tactics currently hasn't been working for the last 10 years fighting Boko Haram and banditry. So I don't think they're going to change any tactics anytime soon, because the issue that we have in Nigeria right now combating is about tactics, not even technology. Technology hits a lot, but tactics is one of the biggest concern that we have over here. So.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a question from James Onyebuchi. It says 20 to 25% of government contracts are set aside for the minorities. For
Yes.
someone who is new in this space, how can you strategically compete with existing companies out there also offering the same service as you?
Absolutely. Where is you call it from?
It's based in Maryland.
Okay, so Barry, Maryland. Yes, we can talk about how to get yourself certified as minority-based business. There are a lot of ways I can show you about different minorities. We call it set-asides. How do you get on set-aside? How do you get, I believe the person is a female, right? How do you get you in women-owned business? We can get you certified on that. There are a lot of processes involved in it, but it's doable. It's doable. And the best thing I always ask people, especially folks in the US that want to get into government contracting, is before you even go ahead, just go ahead and get yourself knocked out in all those certifications, all those things, so that you be ready whenever you want to take on a government contract, because you have to make sure that you check all the blocks. Absolutely. Yeah, 25% of it is going to small businesses, and you have to get yourself certified for small business. We'll walk you through the process in the class as well and teach you how to get this thing going.
Okay, I'm sure someone in Nigeria, for example, is asking, if I get into this government contracting, will it enhance me getting US, some kind of my immigration process? Will it enhance my capacity to move to the US if I start doing government contracting, maybe outside of the US?
I think it does in a way that most people don't see, because you are now establishing reputation. You have past performance. If you've done some of these things, you have past performance. And if you compete for government contract, especially if your business is in the US, you register your business in the US and you have to repatriate to the US to get this done. I think it does, because government contract is like, that's the only way US government spend contracts. And there are multiple ways for businesses, especially if you're acting on US government interest, that can be worked on. It gets into the technicality of some of these visa classes, but it can be done. So, having the US business registered is one point at one phase to actually get in it. And then, towing the line and making sure that those business work for you, getting revenue from it, and making it structured in such a way that your position for government contract is all the same. So, but you have to start it before you, how do I put it? You have to start it first, because there's so many opportunities that abound, even beyond visa and all those kind of stuff, becoming the sole government representative in certain areas. So I'll give praise. The classes which is going to be coming up before the end of the month, both online or in person, and we can register and be part of it. I share my experiences. I bring other facilitators as well that used to be government contractors experience, and they'll tell you how this thing goes. So it's like a whole day event. So you'll be online, learning stuff, getting ready for government contract and making it work. So.
Okay, if you're on our database, we'll definitely share that information with Major. Now, Major, we will definitely share that information with you once I get it from Major. Maybe second to the last final question from me. A lot of people don't know, they don't know if you can, that you can be in Nigeria and register a business in the US. You want to talk a bit on that, because that might be something that can help a lot of people here who actually have, some of them have stuff that they are selling in Nigeria, like palm oil and all those kind of things, but they don't know that they can register their businesses in the US.
Absolutely. The world as is global right now, and with the use of technology, you can be in Nigeria and have a business in the US and run it in the US as well. And that in itself can provide you an opportunity to do so many things down the line. Not be immediate, but so many things down the line. And people that knows about this trick are using it. Big governments are using it. Small governments are using it. Big companies, small companies are using it. It's about opportunity all over the global. The same way you can register in the UK, business in the United Kingdom, and have business in Nigeria and also in EU as well. So all these things are opening up right now. Different countries. Pandemic has really opened up so many lines, so many opportunities along the way to make this thing happen. So it is important to get this thing, to get people to understanding, like, yes, you can be in Nigeria, but yes, you can have business in the US. It's doable. People are doing it. A lot of people have done it. I think we've registered over 75 different companies in the last 2 years or so, like that. And it makes a lot of sense. It does, because now you can start, okay, I want to open a bank account in the US, and I have a business over here in the US, and people know we can start trading from the US and paying to your US account. And that can facilitate your immigration stuff as well. There's a lot that can be done with it, but it doesn't just happen overnight. It takes time, because some of these require having traction of business thing going on. So it's important that we have those kind of conversations, because they are there and they are there for grabs. People are using it day in, day out. How do you think certain people are doing businesses overseas and they're moving their stuff? Some people will even talk to you unless you have your business in the US. So you can have a branch in the US and headquarter in Nigeria, or headquarter in the US and branch in Nigeria. It's doable. Everything is all global. And you have a front office or home office here that is taking care of all that kind of stuff. So it's quite it's quite something that I don't know why a lot of people don't know about it, but it is there. Praise knows about it, and a lot of more people are doing it, having business in the US and also operating out of Nigeria. You can sell your product, vice versa, online, get into your company, and all that kind of stuff. So yes, there is a big opportunity in that space, and people are exploring it day in, day out. And I think if you have something that is viable, that not only is being sold in Nigeria, but you can sell it outside Nigeria, I think you should get on it as well.
Thank you very much.
And we do help people do that as well. So I'll put unnecessary information to Praise to share it on the platform.
Okay, finally, Major, how can I join the US military?
That one choked me. For people that I think they have an age restriction, I think you've already passed that age restriction. So
I can do a declaration now.
What?
I can declare my age like we do in Nigeria.
Oh, you can do that, and then it will come back when it's time to be jumping ropes and be running. Then that thing will come out.
Okay.
But I think they do the chaplain. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can help the government. You can use the U.S. military without joining them as well. So there are several ways that can be done. So yeah. You and I, we need to talk about some of the stuff that came to my mind today as I was doing this thing. So
okay,
I'll reach out to you before you leave on Thursday.
Okay, thank you very much, Major. It's nice having you. Someone is saying share about how to join. Share about I think if you are less than 20, what's the age restriction?
I think it's 28.
Okay, so Obina, if you are above 28, you cannot join. No. Okay. So that you don't become that boy that went to UK and say it's 15 when it's 21. If you have someone who's less than 20, I think they can join. And I think they're always recruiting. Thank you very much, Major, for obliging us and sharing how to win with people. I mean, I've seen you win with people. I've seen you relate. I don't know how you do it all the time. You are always available to help and assist, and I think it's something we all need to imbibe. Please, everybody, don't say you are an introvert. There is nothing called introvert when it comes to influencing people. Please break out of your shell, overcome rejection, overcome esteem issue. I mean, let people beat you black and blue. You will get better. Thank you very much. Peace. Please take it away from here. God bless you, Major. Please, let's celebrate, Major. Let's celebrate. I think a lot of information, a lot has been shared.
Wow.
Today. Okay, peace over to you.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Major Adeleke. This is mind-blowing. I have learned a lot. He touched on so many things: leadership, the home front, supply chain, security, and business ideas that we haven't even thought about. Now, the part of security, I know some people's hearts are already in their throat. Please breathe. breathe, and then start your planning, start getting ready. The other day I called my nanny and I said to her, look, I know you probably don't have so much, but trust me, you need to start having plan B. And she was like, what are you talking about? I said, the security situation in Nigeria is affecting everyone, including you. And because I care about you, I need to tell you about this. So I need us all to take all the points, the advice, and everything he has told us and put them all in practice. Thank you so much, Major. We appreciate this. Please, let's admin share the screen.
And if you guys want, I'm sorry, please to interrupt you. If you guys want us to bring an immigration expert to share some of the numerous immigration opportunities that exist, you know, if you type yes on the chat box, then we will organize it.
Unplug it.
It's over to you.
Okay. Okay. House of Saviors News. Dun, 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 dun. Thanks so much for joining us today. Well, we appreciate you all for coming, and the fact that you are here, it means a lot to us. So how did you find this session? I mean, I don't need to ask that question again. Drop in the comment section. How did you find this session? What's that thing that, you know, really touched you and you're willing to start your actions immediately? Share it with us in the comment section. Somebody somewhere might just be learning from you. And I mean, this is just the best place. It looks like this is the place, the only place we have to share these fantastic things that we have and also to learn from each other. Our meetings are about impact. So we expect you to go out there and practicalize what you learned from the week and come back to share your results. It's very important. Share your results. House of Saviors is the flagship project of Praise for Wowe, Research LCC USA. And while we don't levy anyone, we appreciate your support. You know, you are encouraged to give to support the project because the whole essence of being together is to grow and learn together. And the little token you can give can actually help the organization develop someone else. You know, the whole idea is impact to humanity. So to give, kindly use the following details. PayPal, use paypal.me/PFTech LCC. I repeat, paypal.me/PFTech LCC. Then if you want to use Zelle, go ahead and use Zelle through praiseforware@gmail.com. Interact, praiseforware@gmail.com. Flutterwave, use flutterwave.com/pay/House of Saviors. Flutterwave.com/pay/House of Saviors. Or if you want to transfer, just do quick transfer to a particular bank account, just transfer to Praise for Wowe International, Zenith Bank. Account number is 101-492-7099, just like you can see on the screen. Admin.